Let me call the meeting to the Lancaster Planning Board to order at 7:02 p.m. I'll call the roll. Mike Fabro, here. Kendra Dickinson, here. George Franz, here. Regina Brown. Muted yourself. You need to unmute yourself. I see Regina. She gave us a
Yes, here.
All right. Frank Streeter also here, so the entire board is present. Does the agenda really need to say approve 422 minutes twice, or is one of those 48? Must be wrong. I think it's 48, 422. Has everyone had a chance to look at those minutes? People are comfortable voting on them? Okay, so in that case, I would accept a motion to accept the minutes. So moved. Second. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, we'll vote on both minutes as one. All in favor? Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Great. 5-0 to approve. Thank you very much. Okay, so public hearings. The first public hearing we have tonight is 339 Seven Bridge Road. The request for another endorsement of an A&R lot from Keith. So here's online. Great. Oh, what? I am yeah, no, I remember looking at this.
We're gonna do shared.
Okay. So the questions that I have for you, Brian, given it's an A&R lot, you've reviewed the calculations for lot shape, frontage, access, and they're all compliant.
Yes.
I see 225 feet of frontage. I see slightly over 2 acres, and I see a favorable perimeter calculation.
Yes.
Okay. Do any of you have any comments? But you don't need that for an A&R. Oh no, it could be all swamp. Yeah. So, Regina, do you have any comments about saying?
No, I don't.
Perfect. Okay. Well, if no one has any comments, I would look for a motion to approve the A&R law. Do we have a second? And a second. Any discussion? Not seeing or hearing anything, I'll call for a vote. Regina?
Yes.
George? Yes. Kendra? Yes. Mike? 100%. Frank, yes. So 5-0 to approve Keith's A&R lot. And Keith, I'd like to point out that we nailed this in 3 minutes. This is not a planning board that waits around.
No, thank you guys. I just had one question while you got Brian right there too. I looked on the website and there is another plan that was submitted too for a larger portion. And I think that was supposed to be on this meeting too.
Chairman,
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, my name is, could I speak, please?
If you'll identify yourself, please.
My name is Jeff Stefanik. I'm a land surveyor with Gurrier and Halnon, and we submitted an A&R plan for the state of Massachusetts to acquire 34 acres at 339 Seven Bridge Road, which I thought was on the agenda right now, but apparently is not.
No,
This is the only one we've seen.
This is the only one we've seen. If you have another A&R, we can do it in 2 weeks.
Brian, we had talked about this a couple of weeks ago. I sent you the where the state was acquiring the majority of the property near the river. And you told me that we're on the agenda unless I heard from you.
Right. This I thought we were talking about this property here. This is the only A&R, only Mylar that we've received in plan. Unless I'm
There's one up on the site on the docs you can click on. It's on the link.
I'm gonna blame this on my broken collarbone. I mean, I don't remember. I do remember something about the fish and wildlife.
Right. That's who I'm here representing.
I thought this was the one we were talking about, the 339 Seven Bridge Road.
Yeah,
The
this-
property, the state is acquiring about 34 acres from Calon Farms. That was the A&R we submitted about 2 weeks ago, and we had spoken about it, and I thought that's what we were here for right now.
No, because, so this is Frank Streeter, the chair. When we got that, I was under the impression that that was supporting data for this A and R we just
Yeah.
approved. I don't think any of us were aware that it was a separate A and R for what I'm seeing here as Lot B. So I don't think anybody on the planning board has looked at that, but we'd be very pleased to put it on our agenda and bang it out in 2 weeks. If that's not gonna be a problem.
My apologies if I missed something there. Just seeing the one plan that came in, I guess I conflated the two.
Right.
And
So
I certainly did when I looked at it. I didn't realize that there was a second one, Jeff.
Okay.
And do we have a second Mylar?
No, this is the only my,
So we couldn't do it without a Mylar anyway.
Well, I believe we sent that Mylar to you guys 2 weeks ago.
Well,
I'll check a look.
well, Jeff, let me rephrase this. Is it gonna be a real problem for you guys if we put this off for 2 weeks because we were unaware it was on the agenda? Is that
yeah,
Well,
right
we're
up against
dealing
the
with-
closing.
We're
Is that
dealing
gonna
with the
mess
Fisheries
things
and
up?
Wildlife, and they were hoping, they originally asked us to try and get this on the May planning board meeting, and we said that was physically impossible. So I'd have to check with them to see if it's a big problem for them. I know they were pretty anxious about it. I don't know why, but
Their fiscal year ends at the end of June, so it's a definite issue if this doesn't get recorded.
You guys could schedule a closing for the 25th.
Yeah, they have to fund by the end of the month.
Yeah, okay, but can you schedule a closing for the 25th, which is before the end of the month on the 30th?
that's beyond my control.
Yeah.
Brian's checking to see if we get tomorrow.
Yeah, Brian's looking to see if we have the Mylar.
Yep.
I mean, my only concern is that, 34 acres completely qualifies for an A and R. And it appears you've got the survey appropriately. So let's just wait for Brian to get back and see if we have the Mylar.
Okay.
You guys are the next on the agenda, but we need to finish this before we start. I don't want to have you guys start a presentation and then get interrupted. What I will do out of order, 357 Sterling Road has requested a continuance until our next meeting on June 24th. So can I have a motion to continue the hearing to the 24th? We would continue 357 Sterling until June 24th. We have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the continuance? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote on the continuance of 357 Sterling Road. Mike?
Yes.
Kendra?
Yes.
George? Yes. Regina?
Yes.
And Frank, yes, so 5-0 to continue 357 Sterling to June 24th. Yeah. So, you have it in Mylar?
Again, it's just
No, that's the old one.
this is the old one, right?
That's the old one. That's not the new one. Is that the only other Mylar you have?
So of course, it's one I accepted with. It was 547 Neck Road.
Yeah, but that's an old one. We approved that a while back because we had to jigger it because of this.
Yeah.
So no, that's an old Mylar. Okay, so Brian,
Yeah.
can we vote an A and R without a Mylar present? Well,
We have to review the plan.
Are you guys?
We can sign it after the meeting. We try one more time.
This is the one, it was up to, there's the Nashua, there's 117, there's the farm stands, it's 35 acres down here, that's a largely floodplain.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, yeah,
It
it used to be corn and now it's water.
Yeah, exactly, it's
Well,
water,
it's water corn?
and it abuts the Commonwealth land across the way.
Yeah,
Jordan, you say this one?
if it meets the specs.
I mean, I don't see why that, if the entire board is in favor of doing this, once it's unanimous,
If it meets the specs, I have no question.
well, let's wait for Brian to come back. My only concern is that I don't see any perimeter calculations here. There should be a perimeter calculation. That is-
Frank, I do have concern on voting on something that has not been put out to the public.
Well, it was on the website, but,
But it's not on our agenda.
well, technically, our agenda says 339 Seven Bridge Road, request for an endorsement of a division of land where approval is not required. But that's true, that's not this address. Because we've got the other ones, we've got that. Yeah, because this
I mean, I'm
lot,
saying that, I want to make it clear, I'm not saying that because I want to not see this pass. I'm saying that because I don't want us to get hung on a technicality.
well, and I certainly don't want there to be some issue with the closing of Fish and Wildlife, where there's some parties they don't like.
Yeah, correct.
I'm a big fan of getting this stuff done right. Jeff has other things to do than come back before us in 2 weeks.
But we're so cool to hang out with.
Well, there is that.
Listen, I could never rock that to the quality that you rock it. I'm not even gonna try. And
Yeah.
there's this.
One thing I'm noting here is that there's no lot shape calculation. There should be an area versus perimeter calculation. I don't see it.
Right, I think this is the new one.
That's
That's
that. Those are the same.
This is the one we approved before.
Yeah, that's one we did before.
This is a different one, because now we have the MyLot.
That's a different one we did before.
We only did one before.
No, we've done
We
two.
did the one that had the target that we had to do the correction with that little corner, an extra piece of steak.
And then
Then
that
we
was the
said-
second time.
Yep,
We did those two.
this will be
What's
3
underneath
and
it?
4.
The
Same thing, yeah, so,
only thing I'm thinking is we only get one MyLot, and this one hasn't been signed.
yeah, but this isn't that. We didn't sign this Mylar? We approved this ages ago.
We signed that.
Unless it's.
I think we signed the original Mylar again too. So we don't have a Mylar that we can find. And we don't have a lot shape calculation. I think we could proceed without the Mylar as long as we knew one was coming. But what about lot shape? Is there a minimum lot, a lot size above which you don't have to do a shape calculation?
No, I don't believe so.
So I mean, this is 35 acres.
Yeah.
So there's no shape calculation on the plans either.
Chair? May I speak?
Vicky? Please, Jeff.
The 35 acres is going to be open space. So the lot shape factor, while I understand what you're saying, it's part of the regulations, as a pragmatic matter, it's somewhat meaningless in this case. It's not a building lot. In Lot A, the remaining land is in the process of, I think, being further divided, which will give you those shape factor numbers.
Yep.
And there's also a note that says planning board endorsement shouldn't be construed as approval of zoning area, lot requirements, etc. So I'm not sure that shape factor is really critical for open space. And I think the Mylar is in your building I mean, I can confirm and email Brian tomorrow the history of that, but it's in the
I remember
building
the
somewhere, I do
conversation.
believe.
I just really just have the one, okay.
Okay, well, so, and we got a couple questions here. First up, what's the street address of lot B? Is it still 339 or is it a different street address?
It's
Yeah,
still
Brian.
339 because it's a vacant
Okay.
lot.
Okay, great, so that was one question, so technically it is properly noted on the agenda then.
Yeah.
Because we did say
Okay.
339, we didn't say just one lot, and all the documents were posted. I mean, I'm looking online in an online document, so we don't have a Mylar. And we don't have a lot shape calculation. I'm willing to take, given the size of the lot, Jeff, if we go forward tonight, I need you to come up with a lot shape calculation. I'm sure that will be easy for you to do. I don't see this as being a real problem. I mean, we're very, we're sensitive to what you're trying to do here, but we must stay within the regulations. That's very important.
Well, you probably have it on my
I would, well, I don't know, because it's not on this plan, which I assume would be a copy of the Mylar. So I'm not seeing it.
Our Mylar was dated May 7th.
Do you have a lot shape factor on that?
It does not, no.
Okay, well, so we need the lot shape factor no matter what. So. Personally, here's what I'm comfortable with, and if any of you are not comfortable, we will not proceed. But I would be comfortable voting this on the condition that we need a Mylar delivered, which we're all gonna have to sign, and it won't be final until everybody signs it. And, that the lot shape calculation is compliant. Now, I have every reason to believe that it is compliant. But if they can come up with a Mylar with a proper lot shape calculation, then we can sign the Mylar. And it's legitimate. Regina, what do you think about this? It's the person not in the room.
No, as long as we get all that in writing, I'm comfortable.
Okay. What do the rest of you think?
I'm on board.
What Regina said.
Okay, those conditions, yes. Okay, great. You can't proceed without it anyway. I know, but I just want to be really clear, because normally I would not proceed without a Mylar. I would say come back. It's all stipulated, so. Yeah, but you got a closing with Fish and Wildlife, you're dealing with the government. Yeah. So I would look for a motion that says we approve the A&R lot as shown on the plan presently and on the planning board website, with the condition that Jeff or his agent will deliver a Mylar for the board to sign, and that Mylar will have the proper lot shape calculations on it, showing that this was legitimate. Jeff, is that going to be acceptable to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Keith, is that going to be acceptable to you?
That's great. Thank you, guys.
Okay, so
Hey,
that's
Frank.
Regina.
So, I love everything you said. Are we going to put a date that it has to be by X date? That this doesn't hang out there forever?
Sure, Jeff, when can you get us the Mylar?
We'll have it by the end of this week without a doubt, or tomorrow if you need it tomorrow.
I'd even like to give them at least 10 days. But if it goes beyond that, it dies. And they have to come back and start again.
Going for a week from tomorrow, because, you guys have a closing to get ready for, so I'm certain you are highly motivated. And, I know Keith is on this sort of thing, so I suspect that if you delay, there will be issues. So I'm very comfortable adopting Regina's comment about, having this, that you need to get us the Mylar so we can all sign it by a week from Tuesday. And if that all works for you guys.
Okay, whoa, I got one other thing. A week from,
Please.
so if we have to sign it by a week from Tuesday, is Kendra back?
No, they have to deliver it by a week from Tuesday.
Okay, okay,
We will sign it as soon as reasonably possible.
okay,
And
thank you.
back in country on the 19th late.
But also, we don't all have to sign it necessarily,
Well, this is true.
because we like you to sign it. but we don't all legally have to.
Nobody here. It's just Jim and
So-
frickin' Dan chatting.
Okay, Regina, any other comments or thoughts?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you.
Fantastic. Okay.
Yeah.
So at this point, I will call for a vote on that motion that we will approve, subject to a Mylar with the calculations in our hands by the close of business of week tomorrow.
Yes.
Thank you, Kendra,
Yeah,
George,
Yeah, it's just
Gina,
He's in this
Yes.
building.
and Frank,
Hi.
yes, so.
Hold on one sec. Whoever Nicole is, could you mute? We're listening to your conversation.
Okay, so, I also vote yes, Jeff and Keith, that is 5-0 to approve the second A and R lot, with the conditions discussed. And, congratulations on selling Fish and Wildlife, and, hope nice things happen.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Have a good
Thank
night,
you.
everybody.
See ya.
Thank you very much. Okay, one down. It's like, I mean, all I can do
it's
is-
so much, I mean,
Yeah,
Used to,
and
oh, yeah, that's when there were pheasants.
yeah.
There were pheasants when we were
Yeah.
kids, there weren't pheasants anymore. So. Okay, well, one down. So now let's go back to 201 Hilltop. Well, you're out of the room, you probably came in at the end, we continued reading
Yes.
this and Sterling, so that's all done. Why don't we collect these various plans and
Yeah.
Mylar so they don't all get mixed up? I signed one of these plans, but aren't we supposed to sign the Mylar and the plans?
Yes.
I brought those. Okay, we can, great, we'll get those signed, so. Why don't you spread plans out in front of us? Brian, any market news is for you. See this stuff? No, that's. All right, well, let's let these guys present and then, then we can. Jab it.
no, before I forgot,
Yeah, no,
it took me a minute to find it the first time, I didn't wanna waste time.
Yeah.
I get it at.
Okay,
Right, hello, everyone, my name is Dan Carr, I'm Fancy Engineering, I'm the civil engineer for the project at 201 Building. Site plan and stormwater permit. They're proposing to build an indoor horse riding arena and an outdoor riding arena on site. And various stormwater control throughout the property to mitigate that increased impervious on site. So there's infiltration basins. There's roof trials for the indoor riding arena. There's a new septic system for the existing building on site. They were proposing a siltation barrier around the area of work. We submitted a stormwater report. And I know there was a peer review previously. So TMP came onto this project after it had already been designed and we finished out the design basically. And there was a peer review at that time and CMP took that peer review and responded to it. And I know we did get a response to that peer review and there were just a couple of minor comments about a label on the plan. They wanted a spot rate and they wanted some clarification on the slopes of one of the pipes in the report.
Yeah, for just Bethany, the Helium Waters is online, so.
Oh, great.
oh, wonderful. Bethany, feel free to unmute. Perfect. So jump right in here. So, what I have from Haley and Ward is January 21, 2022. Is there a more recent letter from Haley and Ward?
Yes. Yes, we had one May 17th.
And how has that changed from your, yes, your comments previously with the new plan?
So the updated plans and stormwater report had addressed all of our comments from the first comment letter. There's just three minor outstanding items that we'd like to see. Two of those is that they confirm a slope on a pipe. It's just a little confusing the way that it was shown in their stormwater report and the calculations. It's expressed as a decimal, but it's also expressed as a percent. So we just wanted them to clarify what the true slope was. And the third item, that's two of the items. And the third item was we had requested for them to add the spot elevation to the drain dry well roof. Just so that it shows exactly what that elevation is supposed to be, because it differs from the topography. Or I should say the contour lines that are shown.
Is that the proposed roof dry well 3G?
Yes. Roof drain dry well, I believe it's to the lower right of the plan.
What's that say? No, it says L1CD. It says proposed roof dry well 3G. Here, where are we? Which one are we looking at?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have it labeled slightly different.
Yeah.
Okay, and so we don't have a spot elevation on this yet.
Yeah, and the thing is we show 2-foot contours and the proposed grade on top of it is 491, so it's not a contour, so we wouldn't see the contour, but we'll have a spot grade here.
And those are the only outstanding comments that we had after the revised plans and stormwater report.
Okay, great. So if those changes are made, you will be relatively happy.
Yes.
Okay. Good. Okay. Thank you. Please stick around.
Great. There's a siltation barrier around the area of work to prevent indirect alteration of the wetland during construction. There is a proposed pasture area around the buildings for the horses. And we have a note on there that the pasture area is fully vegetated and stable prior to use to prevent erosion. So the roof drains of the proposed indoor riding arena are collected in a system of pipes that send it to that roof travel that we spoke about earlier. There is a stone trench on the outdoor riding arena that will direct runoff to an infiltration basin. So all runoff from the indoor and outdoor riding arenas is being controlled, whether it be a dry well or a surface infiltration basin. And we did update the plans to push all work outside the buffer zone of the wetland. So there's currently an active order of conditions on the site. And so this proposed plan does not interfere with that active order since it's outside.
And where does that order stand right now?
It's open. We were hoping to.
So wait a minute. So I just want to understand. So that order's been in place for 2 years. Have you guys made any efforts to comply with it?
Well, it's valid for 3 years.
Have you made any efforts to comply?
I was under the impression we needed planning board approval for the stump removal.
Well, when Dan was in front of the planning board probably 1.5 years ago, certainly at least 1 year ago, we told Dan anytime he was gonna remove stumps, he just needed to call us and we would, because you're under an order from the planning board, that we would lift it.
I did call and ask about using the planning board area to put the stumps. It was denied. You requested that we get this first. I did call to do that.
Did you speak to Brian or Mrs. Jasmine?
Jasmine. But we did request 1 year ago to then start. And then we started to get the stormwater.
I remember that.
Okay, and so that's our enforcement with the stumps, because I do remember at one point you were in front of us and we were talking about stumps because you said you had no idea where they were gonna go at one point. And so my recollection is you said, I can't get rid of these right now, we'll come back to you.
That's incorrect. I came to the board to just ask if I could use the planning board land to stage the stumps that needed to be removed in conservation area.
What do you mean by planning board?
Your response to that, to me, was I couldn't do a thing until the stormwater management plan. So I can't get to the conservation land without running machine across this parcel. And I'd be in violation to stop it. So if you want to look at your emails and notes, that's when to see your response.
Yeah, I would, well, I'll certainly go through that, yes. So please continue.
That pretty much describes what we're trying to do on site, in terms of stormwater and buildings and septic.
Okay, so quick question before I go around to the board. You show the existing walled garden, and I can see that walled is starting to become not totally the accurate term. I'm assuming you're not going to build a wall back. Let it collapse, remove it. What are your thoughts?
Anything that's fallen down, you just try to stabilize it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big wall, it's challenging. So, okay, so if you've got nothing else to say in presentation, I'm gonna look to the room for comments, comments online, and we can come back for a more general discussion. So, first off, anything else from you, Dan, or Madonna? Okay. Any comments? Okay. So who do we have online here? Please, if you're interested in commenting, please raise your hand. You use the Zoom raise your hand function if you can. Does anyone online have any comments? I'm not seeing anyone raising their hand. Oh, Kara, now you have yours. I can't see it. Yes. Kara, please, name and address.
Yeah, sorry about that. I spaced out on the hand thing. So Kara Sanford, I live near the property. I'm not a direct abutter. 350 Bull Hill Road. Sorry for I'm not getting the camera right. So this is a request on my part that the Lorings please consider placing their paddock fences outside all jurisdictional wetland areas, as any horses would naturally wander over to the 100-foot buffer zone otherwise and degrade their quality. If they are willing to do that, then referencing that condition in any permit issued by the planning board. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you. I'm sorry, did you want to respond to that? No. Okay. Does anyone else have any questions or comments? Okay, not hearing any online. So that doesn't seem like a really unreasonable request, I would point out, but let me circulate to my board first. So who's got comments, who's got questions?
I recall from quite some time ago, the issue about stumps. And am I understanding correctly that has not been resolved?
For the stumps for this parcel, most of them have been 99%. But for the conservation area, we haven't started that. So we needed a staging location on this parcel to take the stumps off. We couldn't leave them on the conservation piece. We couldn't put them on this without the stormwater management. Because we're under a stop work. That's why we asked for relief through Jasmine to be able to start the work a year ago. We asked to come before the board, make a request. She said, requested that.
Actually coming in front of the board meeting?
I remember us having a meeting and discussing the stumps.
But I did too, but I don't remember the request denied part.
I just remember you had an issue with where they were going, and I said, who cares as long as they're not being buried on the property.
Oh, yeah, but I thought I recalled saying, hey, come back, if you got a place for them to go, come back to us, because at one point, my recollection was you said you didn't, so either way.
It's neither here nor there.
Not special, so. Further comments about that? No.
Regina?
I had a question only because I had a hard time hearing. What wall is collapsing? Frank, you brought up a wall.
It's the wall around the existing walled garden. that if you look on the left-hand side of the plan, where, you can see a roadway going into the next lot, you come right, it says existing outbuilding and then existing walled garden. At the moment, there's gonna be an infiltration basin in the middle of that.
Okay, okay, I wasn't sure if you were talking stone wall or the structure wall, so that's why, and like I said, I had a little hard time hearing.
No, it's a brick wall, it's an old brick wall,
Okay,
so.
thank you.
So your siltation barrier here cuts right across. So you're going a fair amount into the wetland zone, if I read this correctly. Is this true? Yes, no, am I reading this wrong?
Behind the wall garden, yes.
So you're going a fair ways, your siltation barrier is going a fair ways into the wetlands then. I mean, you're within the 25, you're right at the edge of the 25-foot no disturb zone. And well within the 50-foot buffer. At least according to this plan. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, have you gotten something from the Concom saying that they are not, it is not in their jurisdiction as a result?
That was.
There's already silt fence installed.
Yeah, I think that's not existing silt fence. It's all through all areas.
So is this subject to the Concom's jurisdiction or not? Did you guys file an animal law for that?
No. Well, it's part, that was already, that was under the conservation. Order that put that silt fence.
Okay. And so you guys haven't complied with any of the conservation order?
Just the silt fence and monitoring.
Yeah, I've got to say, I'm quite concerned about the fact it's been 2 years and the contract stuff hasn't been complied. I do have a problem with that.
How did you expect this running equipment across your land? If they're work, I'm under stuff.
It's it's not our,
Well,
it's not planning, it's not planning board
you're in
grant.
charge.
So, I would have expected you to come forward prior to this. Now let's look at the siltation barrier for a minute. So, as somewhat of a horse person, it doesn't seem that Ms. Sanford's comment is necessarily way out of place, especially given that you're not going to be pasturing in the wetlands themselves. So to what extent are you willing to fence that so that the wetlands are excluded?
What if it's required?
Well, Dan, I always prefer to negotiate with an applicant rather than telling them something. If the applicant says, yes, I can work with this, I would rather move in that direction than set up an order of conditions. So, great. So we'll put something in that, roughly along the silt fence to keep it out of the wetlands. So, so our order of conditions, to be clear, is that all the various stumps need to be stored and subsequently, so you need permission from us to store the stumps on the property so you can continue with your remediation.
Well, if you approve the stormwater management plan, I don't think that's.
So I'm sorry, I didn't catch you said.
If you approve the stormwater management plan, go to work. I don't need additional approval.
It doesn't make sense to me. Why is this stump issue? Why aren't they allowed to put the stumps so that they can be removed properly? What's the issue there?
It would be technically, according to my conversation with Jasmine before she left the town of Plainman, her feedback was that it would be a violation of the non-work order because they'd be technically running machinery across the land. And he didn't want to be in violation of the no work order, is the way she explained it to me. In an in-person, in the office
How does this get
conversation.
resolved is my question.
We approved the stormwater settlement so that he can finish the site.
That makes sense to me,
Three
because
years.
we can't continue. We already went through this on several other projects that we had to move forward so they could continue work to be compliant. Maybe I'm missing something, I'm not sure.
Right, well. Yeah, my concern is that some of this does not comport with my memory about requests to limit work to deal with the stumps.
So, does it matter?
It only matters because I like to see enforcement orders compliant with the traffic distraction.
Okay.
So so there's my personal bias, you know? I like to see enforcement orders complied with timely. I think that that's really important. So, does anyone else on the board have any further comments?
So, and just to put it out there, I reached out to the State Ethics Commission regarding a question that somebody had put out in the public when I first ran for the seat on the planning board. And I had it cleared by the attorneys on the State Ethics Commission that I do not have a conflict of interest in this because Dan is not my boss. And I filed all of the appropriate paperwork directly with the town clerk, Mandy Cannon, and it has been stamped. So that being said, thank you. To make things really clear. You guys all know that I go to almost every meeting that I can possibly log on to. And I did send an email out to the chair of the Conservation Commission to confirm what I found on the Registry of Deeds research that I was doing and my historical memory of the Conservation Commission meetings that have happened in the last 12 months. They amended a restoration plan or created a restoration plan for the disturbed area, and that was voted on and approved. I met with Brad Stone today and had a conversation, and he said that to his knowledge, there's no other outstanding issues with conservation.
Other than,
He looked at the map with me,
right, no, but so when you say other, there are no other
Like,
outstanding issues.
he wasn't
Be-
worried about like the silt fence.
Beyond the enforcement law.
And
That's
he,
why I just want to
Yeah.
be clear.
he had no other concerns that weren't already addressed in front of conservation. And he understands why he goes, I want the restoration project to start, but he knows that the applicant has concerns about getting in trouble for other things since this is a well-watched project, and he didn't want to
Oh,
just
it sure is.
ask for forgiveness.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, no, it's very prudent.
and then I also confirmed with Brian that there's no other issues besides the 3 very minor changes that need to happen on the plan, which we could do. Vote on the stormwater permit with the conditions that that small addition be done on the actual plan and the hundreds being changed to percentages in the stormwater report so that everything's consistent, much like we just voted to approve an A&R with conditions similar. So there's really nothing holding this up anymore, so we can start his restoration project, current planting grass, and being a very seasoned horse person, owning horses since I was 4, and having a degree in equine management and planning. I know for a fact you're not gonna put fence in wetland because you're gonna tear off shoes, and he just doesn't wanna get in trouble again.
Look, that's all fine. I'd like the stuff laid out.
Well, yes, my
Brian,
opinion.
do they- What you're here for? Brian, do they need anything from Board of Health about the manure? Is that something that needs to be checked off? So it's not gonna hold up.
Public health issues, so I don't.
No, it's
Okay,
not.
I just, when you get enough,
Yeah.
I just wanna be sure.
Okay, I will need to follow up.
So just to build on that, according to the plan, the dumpster container that the manure is gonna go into is going into a 3-sided concrete pad. So that when it rains, the runoff is directed into the drains.
Okay, so let me simply point out that that's not clear from the plan. So my question was only, I see it right here. My question doesn't talk about that.
It's already there.
My question was, does this need approval from the Board of Health? If the answer is no, then the answer is no. But hey, now anytime someone says, hey, we're gonna have 15 yards of manure, maybe, that's a lot of manure.
Well, luckily the pad's already there because it's the historic way that they've been disposing of the manure for.
That kind of goes with horses, though.
Oh, yeah, no, it does, I'm just 15 yards of, that's stuck out. So what is your schedule in terms of doing this? I mean, you've got a bunch of different things. Are you gonna be in a position to move the stumps and work on the restoration expeditiously.
Yes.
Okay, and that plan has obviously all been approved. So if we're gonna condition the fence, do we have what, the siltation barrier until it hits the 50-foot wetland buffer? Does that seem reasonable? Here, Dan, why don't you come up here?
Yeah, that's just. Yeah, that's going to be that's the stand. Yeah.
According to the 3D renderings I have seen, the fence is gonna run approximately at an angle across here. And across over here.
Sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you were asking about the restoration area. This, we're not planning on going behind there.
You're not, okay.
Yeah, we drew a line and he's comfortable with putting the fence beyond even the 100 feet.
Okay, great.
Yeah, we're not.
I mean, it's turned out for what, 8 horses if I recall?
Yeah, that's very.
A few, just not even a bunch of ponies.
Yeah. Grab a couple of retirees.
Yeah.
As long as there are no possums, right?
Listen. I'd rather have horse runoff than possum runoff in my wetlands, considering it almost killed my horse.
Yeah, you don't want losses.
Yeah, I've heard about this from Kendra for the past like month and a half.
They have equine encephalitis, which can
Yeah.
Spell that.
no, but I can say it 10 times fast. Equine protozoal encephalitis.
Okay.
Which happened, then it was down, spinal cord, and they're back. I give out, and you never know when it's gonna give out. And so it can be a danger to people. Yeah.
He came down with EPM because of possum poop on the wetlands behind my farm. It's like 1 in a million horses gets it.
You have to be extremely careful.
I win all the wrong lotteries for the record.
Guys, I'm going to distract you only because no one watching wants to learn about this. It's only us, so let's just move on from that. Okay, so it seems to me that there's a consensus to approve, subject to fencing that keeps the horses out of the wetlands buffer. Do you want to come up with a sketch as to where you want to run that fence?
Yes.
Roughly, great, okay, good.
If I can approach, I'll just show you.
Please. Yeah, you can work in blue.
Okay, so
Here's the wall.
yeah, so what we don't need. We're gonna use this area
Mhm.
and we're gonna keep the same driveway. Because this is like a park.
Yeah, no, I know, it's all paved. Are the rhododendrons still here? The 40-foot tall rhododendrons? Amazing if they're still there. Well,
Yeah, so we're not,
okay, great.
I thought.
No.
Because like doing a fence, like.
No, that does, well, it also, but it's, if this is indoor and outdoor, you're not gonna be I mean, this isn't gonna be paddock, right, is it? Paddock's all gonna be on this side, right? Okay.
So we have no plans to make that. That's what started out the whole.
Yeah, where's the possum going?
I'm not sure we can condition that. Okay, great, so, excuse me?
Spot filing, you want to condition to read, like, how the stormwater prevention plan.
That's reasonable. No stock
Right,
materials. So
Yeah.
Run water sweat, and you can start filing and for the stumps.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna wanna see a standard order of conditions here that we can.
Right, well, we're gonna get, there are piles of stumps on it.
Yeah.
Um,
So I think what we could do, without even an order of conditions, I think we could lift the enforcement enough to allow you to go start removing stumps. You know, without an order of conditions for the rest of the stuff, because the enforcement order, as I recall, is separate.
that was until we had the stormwater.
Yeah,
So I
so
think
we're gonna need, we're gonna need to vote actually a formal order of conditions for this, so that'll probably be 2 weeks. But I don't have a problem, depending on what the board wants, if the board wants to lift the preventive before we finish the stormwater, so Dan can get started.
Yeah,
on
well,
the
you can't
pile
put the
stuff.
stump to
till we do, so.
Yeah, so I'm happy doing that part. We have another comment from the public before we move to a vote on this. Kara, quickly. What happened?
Thank you. So, the volume's a little bit iffy for me. I didn't hear everyone. This may have already been settled, but I didn't get the sense that it was. So, when I look at that site plan, the siltation fence, there's a difference between the wetlands themselves and then the buffer zone that is attached to them, which is 100 feet. So I'm talking about the buffer zone. The siltation fence is squarely within the buffer zones. And I haven't heard everyone, but I did hear Mr. Loring's comment saying he'll do what's required. So that tells me what I need to know about that. If there is any.
Can I interject? You missed part of the discussion. And they are completely willing to put a fence outside the buffer zone.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, I did not hear enough of the connecting pieces. Thank you very much. It's very generous of you. Thank you.
So, okay, no other hands. Well, we got two things. Well, in the public meeting, I think public hearing, I think that we can still vote to lift the enforcement order to allow them to make steps. Any disagreement on this, Brian?
Do we have to keep the public hearing open once we need the order of conditions at the next meeting?
No, my understanding is we go to approval and that we have a certain period. So, I said,
I don't need that question for shoot. But if you approve this, then you don't have to look, because now we're good.
you probably want to vote to lift the order anyway. Belt and suspenders, Dan. You know,
Yeah, I mean, lift the order, but by approving this, doesn't that mean that we're, there we go. I know, yeah.
I'm not gonna come to that conclusion. I'd rather lift the order separately, so in case that this didn't lift the order, then there was no issue. I mean, I think that at this point, you know, if you're gonna proceed, if you're gonna get the stumps out of there and do this, then we're gonna have to vote in order of conditions, which we don't have tonight. But I think it's reasonable tonight to vote that we'll lift the enforcement order to allow you to get the stumps off the property.
Well,
we'll do that too.
what about taking the stumps out? The stump, big less than the restoration or restoration.
Yeah.
Same thing, right?
Yeah.
But there might be 2 or 3 stumps left in this area, so we have to wait to get it.
Wait, okay, so I'm confused.
He can't pull up any remaining stumps anywhere until we have stormwater, because he's disturbed over an acre of land. If he pulls a single stump out of the ground without the stormwater permit in place, at least voted to approve, not necessarily the order of conditions, we could technically drop another violation order.
What about the piles of stumps that are existing that are not being removed per se?
Well,
You have a bunch of big piles of stumps, don't you?
Yeah, but once we bring the equipment and we go to work.
So, again,
It makes sense to get them all out at once.
right, if you're gonna have the equipment up there, get all the stumps out at once.
And those stumps are leaving the property.
They have to.
I'd like to see a time frame on it. I think we should include.
It would have been 2 years ago.
We should have the time frame in that order.
Okay. Well,
What would you, and again, forgive me if I'm asking the wrong question. If we vote to lift the order, we close the public meeting. Can we vote on the permit and then vote on the order of conditions at the next meeting?
Well, I just want to make one note, the cease and desist, I'm assuming was on July 28, 2021. Okay, so that was issued before the stormwater public hearing opened. So I would suggest closing the public hearing, then looking with cease and desist.
yeah. And if we close the hearing tonight, and if we go to approve and close the hearing, we're still gonna come back with.
We still found out more conditions.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And I think George's idea is a very good one, that, you know, there's definitely gonna be a time schedule on here. So stuff, you know, gets done expeditiously.
I think it would be more reasonable to ask him to comply to a time frame once he knows the permit's either yay or nay. Then build a time frame on top of that. So if we approve a permit,
Oh, I'm just saying, well,
then we can give him 30 days to get the stumps up.
Well, we'll put that in the order of conditions.
Right,
So, you know, so we know it's coming.
right. It's just hard to ask him to commit if he doesn't have a permit.
Well, I don't want to have things appear in the order of conditions that we think are reasonable that didn't get discussed.
Right.
You know, if they're not standard terms.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
So
so
I mean,
we would be interested in getting a proposed schedule from you. So, you know, I mean, you can hear how it's gonna develop. Get us a proposed schedule in terms of what you think you can do. If we agree that it's reasonable, then we'll condition it appropriately.
As soon as the plan's approved, then I get to the contractor.
so then I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Discussion? Any comments, Regina?
No comments.
George? Okay, not hearing any further comments, I will call for a vote. Mike,
Yes.
Kendra,
Yes,
George, Regina,
Yes,
With the stormwater, both proposals, stormwater.
yes,
correct.
yes. Okay, I'll vote for that as well.
I make a motion to lift the cease and desist that was put on record in July of 2021.
Second.
Do we have terms of that cease and desist out of curiosity?
Yes.
I have a timeline here,
But basically, he was to cease and desist doing everything. Okay,
There's a full-fledged.
yeah, okay. Do we have any further discussion about Sam? Regina, as you're not in the room, do you have any comments about that?
no, I do not.
Okay, George, anything? So obviously, the reason we're doing this is so that you can complete your project in a timely fashion in accordance with all the orders of conditions. So
their goal is to plant grass. But have to get help.
no,
Or we lose another.
Amazing. Yep, okay. Any further comments on the thing you are? Okay, I'll call for a vote. Regina,
Yes,
George,
Yes.
Mike, yes. Kendra,
Yes,
and I'll also vote yes to the deal. Okay, so we will address an order of, so Brian will circulate draft conditions. We will discuss and vote on those in our meeting the 24th.
well then can I make a motion to vote to approval of the stormwater permit with the addition of the 3 commented items on Haley and Ward's feedback? We're adding, what was it, the slope on the drywall roof and making the consistency changes in the stormwater management reports from hundreds to percentages.
Yep, and
And that has to be presented.
also, subject to the fencing, the paddock off the wetlands as discussed.
Yes,
So,
Alright, so just making a motion.
motion to approve the stormwater management permit
On the condition.
with the addition, under the condition that the comments regarding the sloping to the drive.
Haley Ward.
Haley Ward's thing, yeah.
yeah, the 3 comments by
That's it.
Haley and Ward. And then you guys will get us an updated set of plans with the totally minor updates, but you know, we need a final set of plans.
And that any paddock fencing will be kept out of the wetland.
Okay, so fence is going out of the wetland, but, we're not talking about struck, so you're gonna provide a schedule? That can be part of the condition of.
Yes.
He'll give us, yeah,
Yeah, we will work with the applicant. We're not necessarily going to accept the applicant's schedule, but we certainly very much look at it.
So yeah, just a question, and back to, so you're stockpiling these stumps and they're gonna have sediment in there, and are they gonna be covered, or they will probably, that's wet.
well, most of it, the bed
They're
stockpile.
gonna remove what they're stockpiling, and that's a removal, it's already stockpiling.
So the stockpiling's been there for about, what, 2 years?
Okay.
So it's been rained on, snowed on, bird
Okay,
pooped
well,
on.
it could be, alright, I'm just thinking like if.
Yeah.
Swiffer.
You know, plan is just to get rid of it.
Yeah.
We just want grass and field.
So that's the 3 other stumps you have. You still have stumps to remove for the Concom area, or are those the stumps that are already all piled up?
The compound, yeah. But I think that might be a few, when we got to start, what I think there might be 3 stumps left.
Why, I just wasn't clear, are those 3 stumps on the
No,
uplands?
They're on this.
Okay, so the
Well,
uplands.
there's one sediment page and going towards the wetlands. No, we moved it all, it's to the left. So we have the 2 conditions, fence outside of the 100-foot buffer. And the schedule of construction activities.
Plus, you know, the usual,
There were technically,
Yeah,
the standard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The boiler.
there were 3 comments on Hale Report's report.
yeah.
I see that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be section,
Yeah. I got it.
it's the 2D and 2E, I think, and then stop. Go roof drywall. I'm pretty sure it's 2D and 2E.
Yeah, no,
I was.
Yeah, That's correct.
Thank you, Bethany.
It's 2B and 2D.
So for clarification, once we get this final stamp and then the order conditions, then we go to work.
From what I understand.
We're second, we have to do. This is your right, second, we have to do. I'm sure it's just wrong.
So I would assume that, you know, unless we're missing something, once you get the order of conditions, then you can proceed.
That's 2 weeks, you said?
Our next meeting's with the 24th.
24. So. And I have, I would assume emails and the like would be going back and forth this week, so we could try to nail all the stuff down this week. Or at least you would have a sense between you and Brian, if there's something that arises that is potentially gonna be a problem. So that we'll have plenty of time, so that can be addressed one way or another, ideally by the 24th. So we can close this out.
I don't think it would hurt to get all your ducks in a row to see who or how we can get the stumps out with the contractor in a time frame. So
Oh, I goes from this plan.
yeah, those questions, I mean, you can still do your due diligence and say, hey, if we get this, can you come in after this and move these and get them out? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, we are definitely interested in not, this has been open for a while, we're definitely interested in closing it out. And somebody tells me you might be as well.
Oh, especially Cat.
Yeah, we can say, Catherine probably haven't been doing a lot of writing.
So did you make?
I said, you probably haven't been doing a lot of writing at the property.
But we didn't go on.
No.
No, we didn't vote on the motion yet. I needed a second to my motion.
I'll second it. Would you state your motion again, please?
Oh, geez. Okay, I make a motion to approve the stormwater management plan with the conditions that the 3 changes from Haley and Ward be made to the stormwater reports and the final site plan, and that the proposed paddock fencing be outside of the wetland buffer,
Plus
in addition to the standard
standard stuff.
order of conditions that will be reviewed at the planning board meeting potentially on the 24th.
Maybe don't we include a proposed schedule for removal of stumps?
Yeah, that'll definitely be.
Yeah.
You want that? Yeah, that's it. Proposed
So that's
schedule.
what's gonna happen in the schedule.
Right, yeah,
Or
that's
schedule
what,
of all
I said, get like a schedule and we'll.
Right.
Yeah, and ideally, if when we're back to the 24th, you're telling us that my guy's showing up the morning of the 25th and they'll be gone by the 27th. That's a great answer.
I think 30 days is reasonable, but
Well, that's reasonable. I'm just saying that's like a great answer. I didn't say that was.
Yeah. That's not the contractor staying out there.
That's a great answer. You know, Dan, you've got to have contractors that owe you.
put them on a mobile
I
storage,
mean,
you
yeah.
can stick them away.
Yeah, you've been in real estate for a while. I know you know people. So, okay, so motion, do we have a second?
Like that.
Mike second, do we have any further discussion? Not hearing any, not seeing Regina jumping up and down, so I will call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion, Regina,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Kendra,
Yes,
Frank, I will also vote yes. So, you got your marching orders. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will see you in a couple of weeks.
Forgive me drawing on your plan.
Oh.
My Google Pad.
Thank you very much. So that's that. The 7 has already been dealt with. Yes.
Oh, sorry. But I've already got vacation plans, so forgive me.
No, I thought you were doing pretty well. All right,
So
so
I used up all my points, right?
hearing has been closed. We have a discussion on the master plan and then a staff report. And I'm gonna use my discretion as chair to move the agenda around a little bit. And we'll have the staff report on 2038 Lunenburg Road now, because we have to avoid.
Yes, and we also have Michelle, who our consultant for wayfinding.
Yeah. So we should get over. Okay, so. Peter. Greetings to you both. Update us.
Well, I've been corresponding with, Brian. And I wasn't sure if there was confusion on the status of the site. So, I think the last time we were here was sometime in February. There has been remediation work done at the site regarding the drainage, basin. Issues with the Concom have been resolved as far as they can be resolved. At this point, we're just working on a restoration plan that has to be presented to them. Shortly. And road work has, next, obviously, there's been improvements in there, getting to the point where, they're getting ready to pave. But I think there was an inspection, sometime last week or the week before. There might be some confusion over plans, the roadway, so I did speak to Brian. I figured it would be best if we just came in tonight. Wes Fliss is on remotely. And I think nothing on the subdivision plan has changed. There's been no relocation of the roadway or anything along those lines. So I'm not sure if there was confusion about.
So the roadway is running exactly where it was in the plans that we previously approved.
The right of way, as it's designed, hasn't moved.
How has the roadway moved in the right of way? Which seems to be the question.
I think there's some location issues of catch basins. And as they sort of went from the roadway up, the line was off like 1 or 2 feet, and then it carried over another 2 or 3 feet. And I think we do have a detail that shows what the variation is. So it's not.
So who's our peer reviewer on this? Who do we have?
Robert Carson.
Well, also with CPI.
Okay, so, not being an engineer, I can't tell you if moving a series of catch basins a certain number of feet is really gonna be material or not. I would imagine your engineer and Hartzell can probably get that dealt with in 5 minutes. I mean, you may be totally fine.
Right.
But I can't really ask this board to make that determination.
Yeah.
So, it would be great to just, if you guys can interface with him. I mean, ideally, we don't need any engineering beyond that, but.
So I looked through the subdivision regulations. I couldn't find anything specifically in the subdivision regulations about If there is a change to the plan, if there has,
We call it a special permit. Okay, so you need deviation from the approved plan.
so what the decision says is that, any substantial deviation from the approved plan. That was in the site plan decision. And I think it's also in the,
So if our engineer tells us this is not a major change, this is completely minor, then you're all good.
Well, I think that,
But that way, you know, if somebody's going back to look at this later, it's yes, they completely complied, they did what was right. Town engineers check, it's like, no, this is really a minor difference, you don't need new plans or a new permit. But, you know, it's an issue that things have changed from the plan.
and I don't think that this was discovered or apparent until recently. I don't think we really found out about this until maybe about a month ago. And I think when they had the site inspection, it was pretty much explained at that time, what happened. So we didn't have any type of a plan that showed the exact location of those 4 catch basins. So at least we have something that we can, I don't know if that's exactly, what is it?
Has the road changed? That all stayed in the same location. Exactly the way it was set up, surveyed and laid out, so it's in the same exact spot, correct?
I think,
Well,
I think,
it's in the right of way, but not in the exact same spot.
Shifted block on the proposed plan, okay, so that made the catch basins, put it in different location.
I think what you,
Yeah,
I think what the issue might be is, I think the center line, certain sections of the center line of the roadway are off
yeah,
by a couple.
through surveying or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay, so
If you can reach out to CEI and CEI says, hey, this is minor, they're all good, then I don't think we need to do anything. But I would just like it, you know, documented, because then also if anybody brings up questions for you later, oh, these guys are playing fast and loose. You can say, no, we did it exactly how it was supposed to be done. We checked the boxes. So, which, you know, is good for a whole variety of reasons. So it seemed to me that unless anyone here
It didn't
disagrees.
change the storm drain, retentions or any of that, correct? So,
just a little bit catch basins.
yeah, I agree with Frank, 100%. You're gonna have to take the liability off the town, they're gonna be one.
On an as-built.
Yes.
That's what, yeah.
so, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm recalling the file, didn't we do a vote whether it was a substantive change or not to a plan, something up in Sterling-Lancaster? Just to memorialize the fact that we officially agree that it wasn't a substantive change, which would trigger new site plan review. So I think that we have to have.
Yeah, it's for our engineer to say it's not substantive, we can go, great, we're all good. I don't even think we need a vote at that point.
Right.
Okay.
But, you know, as long as we've got something from our engineer in the file that says, you know, not a substantive change, then everybody's happy, I think, and you guys, you know, keep going and doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I trust the engineers, I'm not an
Yeah,
engineer.
yeah, I don't want to delay you guys at all to the extent possible. And, you know, I'm hoping this is a 5-minute phone call.
We held off on the asphalt. It's just the fire.
Thank you, there's still. I reckon from the site, well, it's still a lot of. I don't know if you dug down, pulled that, compacted to,
Inspect the ground.
yeah,
That was one of the things we thought he was coming out to do that.
right, but that, I think, finding then, well, we weren't doing the road inspection, but that was not a suitable sort of compact force to be laying behind it.
The whole process, they have the documentation. Mr. Crowley said that they.
Okay, I mean,
I'm just.
if you were gonna, so you were gonna put a binder coat on top of what was there,
There's more gravel going back.
or was more gravel?
It's not that fire, it's all process. It'll be rolled and graded.
Okay, all right, we're gonna have a chance to inspect that
Yes.
before.
So It's part of the agreement system. So maybe what I would suggest is, I can have Wes Fliss from Haley Ward try to speak to Bob Hartzell, as soon as possible. They can go through this detail and then someone can make, the probably best if Bob set some type of a communication to the board.
Yeah, we need it to come from Bob and not.
Instead of it coming from me or from Wes or that.
Yep, and then that'll go in the file, and if they say it's minor, that goes in the file, and, you guys are off.
Because what,
As soon as he says it's minor, that means that we're not gonna have to reconsider it, so I don't think you need to bring that, as long as Brian gives us the letter. Well, I don't think you need to appear again.
because the plan that I've been trying to stay on is get the roadway paved, because I think once the rest of the stormwater utilities are installed and the roadway is paved, everything's gonna work the way it's designed. It's gonna alleviate the majority of the problems. But where we had left off in February was, we were gonna try to get the road to a point where Bob Hartzell could go out and inspect like the first 5 or 6 items on the subdivision checklist of the roadway. And I think that's what I had circled and provided to the board, so, we will have the lateral trenches dug or something along those lines, so we can see everything. And sign off on it, and soon we do that.
It's great.
Yeah, you're disturbing, the less disturbance lets everything stabilize.
Yeah.
Has anything changed? I'm sorry.
Well, I'm just gonna say, it's, once we get that letter from Bob,
Yeah.
then we'll do an inspection. We're not.
Okay, right.
But I don't wanna spend their time if there's a major issue, which we'll get past that. But it's-
Is there been any changes for the stormwater, for the detention and the temporary, stormwater storage areas? And has that been, any change with the detention pond at all?
We haven't done anything in that. We had it in the as they asked for that day. Construction and riprap.
Yeah.
More, well, wood chips and stuff.
Yeah, I did see that at the bottom of the road.
So really close that area.
But having the temporary storage,
It's completely dry.
oh, those will dry out, because then you'll need the road constructed, have stuff,
Yeah. Once the roads aspect, we will fill that,
then you'll fill up.
because that's a good temporary storage.
Does,
Then it doesn't go near that.
okay, so you're gonna be, channeling it away from, then away from the temporary. You going up the hill, the ones on the left.
When the asphalt goes in, we do the curbing, activate the catch basins, and then
Then
the
that
drainage system works as it's
Yeah.
designed. Until that happens, everything's going away.
Yes.
Because, I'll call the Boy Scout.
Yeah.
We built that temporary spot. A lot of the stuff that was draining down into the detention basin, it's not completely diverted away from it. Until we, get the restoration. And inside of the manhole, and then we're in a pipe out to us.
Yeah.
So the nothing can continue for the retention basin.
I know.
Stabilize.
Yeah.
Completely, right up the ground.
I get it, and that's, like I said, or like Frank said, once the engineer goes out there and looks to make sure it hasn't compromised any of the function of what you proposed.
Yep.
I think you're gonna be fine.
Yeah, that's all. That's what we need. Okay, awesome.
Okay, good. Well, look, you guys have been great about, I know this project has taken a lot longer than you wanted.
About 2 years longer.
And, so, appreciate you guys are making progress and, it's not our goal to hold you all unreasonably. I appreciate that you came in and make it work.
Okay. And then hopefully, if that's the case, if things work out, the plan will be to try to be back here probably in the first meeting in July. To deal with some of the lots so we can get building.
Okay, have you guys executed the Form F covenant yet?
Yes.
Great.
But there won't be a meeting first week, right, because of the July maybe.
No,
I think your next meeting is the
it's
eighth.
after that weekend.
Yeah.
The eighth.
Well, you get it before you know it. It's the way the sun goes.
That's fine, as long as August comes just as fast, I can go back out of the track.
No.
We
We don't.
I don't go to the North Pole, so that pole.
You're wearing a big mask.
Why anyone would go to the tropics, that's under the.
All right, Brian, I'll follow.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys, thanks very much.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Best of luck.
We can next go to
Wayfinding.
wayfinding, Michelle.
Yep, let's do it.
Sorry, Michelle, I told you 7:30, here it is, almost 8:30.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle Moon with Civic Space Collaborative. I've been working with Brian since January on the wayfinding and branding initiative and with the advisory committee over the past few months. And we have been collecting community input through 2 surveys, one that was bundled into the comprehensive plan, which received 270 responses. And then we did a second survey as well that received, I think, about 90 responses, and that was in combination with going out into the site or into the field and talking with people in person. And with the first survey, we asked what are kind of the destinations people would like to see. And with the second survey, we gave people an option of 4 different wayfinding designs that were based on some of the aesthetics and the stakeholder interviews that we had heard throughout the process, including like the importance of the historic characteristics. And obviously, when you first arrive in Lancaster, the brick buildings are noticed. So that's why we selected the color red. Blue is a very common color for wayfinding signs too. That's very trustworthy. And then also hearing about nature and conservation was also very important to Lancaster residents as well. So we had 2 green options, one that was slightly more modern. And in the second survey that we received, it was pretty tilted towards the red wayfinding sign. So we worked on developing and updating that suite of different types of wayfinding options too. And I should have pointed out what wayfinding signs are, just in case folks don't know, to point like this way to downtown, to town hall, this way to Palekia Park. So to direct vehicular traffic or walkers and bikers. And then also in combination with welcome signs. And we also heard a lot about history and conservation. And there's 2 different types of kiosks that could be placed. One in more busier, like downtown or by schools areas, and then one that could go into conservation areas there as well. And if you want, I can point out what page numbers these are at or share my screen too, to show what these look like. Here, and I will pull up here the ones that we had worked at. So this is what I was discussing, where we landed with the red signs here. And these are more classic, traditional downtown style with the metal poles. And then on the second page here are ones you would find in more of the conservation recreation areas too. And we tried to select for materials that were readily available, that were sort of easy to source, affordable. So not to come up with too fancy of a design that's too expensive. And we included in here the details for the measurements of the different signs, including the text height here, and then some specific design recommendations to work on developing them. And we also included a list of all the different locations these could go, and also with for the different types of signs. And we tried to give a lot of locations, knowing that this might be whittled down for whatever reason in the future, if the site's not appropriate or it's a budget constraint, or there's an issue with the property owner or something too. So it's just sort of a general list of those details as well. But that's sort of a general overview of everything that we've been working on with the Branding and Wayfinding Committee. Brian, was there anything else you want me to share? And this is the draft report that we're sharing with folks right now.
So are you still, just to be clear here, so this is what has presently been chosen? I mean, I see different design concepts.
Yeah. So there was design concepts. I can back up here. Sorry for the zooming around.
No,
So
just so
on page, with the green and the blue signs, those are the design options in the survey, and then the red design with all the details specified was the one that was selected by residents. I think we had a preference of like well over 60% for design option number 1, which was the red sign.
Yeah, just wanted to make sure that people saw that and understood.
It was nice to have such clear direction.
Okay, so this is a very thorough report, for which we thank you. What else would you like us or the community to know at this point?
We're working on collecting additional comments to make sure that we got a lot of the details right. We'll be meeting with, hopefully be meeting with the Conservation Commission and also the Accessibility Commission, as well as the Council on Aging too, because legibility of these signs are really important to make sure that folks with poor eyesight or folks that are in wheelchairs are able to read these signs at that height. So we want to make sure that those details are right, and we'll be working on confirming the locations over the next few weeks. So this is the draft, and this is sort of like a gut check. It's like, okay, are the details right? And we'll be hoping to test a couple prints to make sure the colors are good, and then sort of the next step would be, once we're done, is to work with a sign designer to figure out fabrication.
So do we have a budget yet?
You got a budget in there, right?
We don't have a budget. We're gonna get some cost estimates for the signs too, and but selecting the materials, if you do metal, wood, dye bond, other sort of materials, that can really influence the overall cost. But we try to find off the shelf products that are easily accessible.
You do have potential funding sources.
Yeah, and that's on the report. We listed potential funding sources.
Is read my eyes.
Is there any? Are there going to be any expenses that we know the town is going to have to bear, as opposed to getting grants from elsewhere? Match. Is there a match requirement where?
Well, we don't know grant we're fine. I mean, it could potentially be a match.
Well, before we make a recommendation to the town, you really need to know that.
Where's the money coming from?
So, okay, I mean, that's just something that, you know, it's gonna need to be dealt with going forward.
Could be a possible CPA.
I don't know.
Stretch.
Yeah. So we,
That's a new CPA.
yeah, so we provided a list of potential funding sources, and fortunately, because there's historic and recreation and conservation types of signs, those could be different types of funding sources as well. And maybe there's a funding source to do one type, and that could be prioritized too, or it's like, you know, there's 10 sign recommendations, but there's funding for 3, so you pick the top 3 locations.
I think it was CPA funds, open space, recreation, and historic. Doesn't Steve have anything? Well, yeah, there could be some sort of thing. That how big on the state likes to fund planning grants. They don't like to spend.
The town doesn't like having money on signs either, so.
Yeah.
We need water pipes.
And another potential source too is the Mass Trails grant. And so if it is to mark the trails, that could be a source as well, which is a state funding source.
I'm just looking at your little section of funding sources in here. And you know, any additions you could have to that, if there are any other places worth applying, that would be great.
Yeah.
Let's just put it all out there because the town doesn't have a lot of extra money. And I'm sure there are a lot of people who would rather not pay more in taxes to get signs.
Yeah, we will continue to check. So this is part of our making the rounds in June is to make sure we can add any details that are not in there to leave a good summary of information.
And you guys have done a great job so far.
Yeah, very good, thank you.
Well, thank you guys.
Is there anything else you need us to know or from us tonight?
I think that's it for me, Brian.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you very much and we look forward to the next iteration.
Okay, thank you guys. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Okay, so do we have other people waiting to address us on? No. Okay, well, so let's just try to go through some stuff in the relevant order then. So what are our next steps for the master plan? I mean, there's still, Ken was going through it and found some things that I already told, changes I'd given to Wayne that weren't made.
No, right, we can still have time to make those, I'm particularly interested in taking the next step. Master plan afterward, and there's not a decision to be made here tonight, but we need to, it's the implementation. What is that going to look like? And I think we need to, there was some discussion at the staff meeting today, but we need to work it through, each step through a cake, but the idea is to have some type of implementation, not a committee, not an appointment, maybe people, some department heads, along with some volunteers to come up with some type of implementation plan, how is this, how are we looking at each of the element to-do lists, an action plan at the end of each, and put it into some type of coherent matrix where there's going to be, this can be done within a year, within 2 years, this can be done within 5 years. And get some better reporting system and some type of accountability into that, and how we're going to get it done. I think that's the next major thing to do. I don't have a suggestion tonight. I will do it, but still got to work it out on the fleet stuff.
So here's my suggestion. Each of the 5 of us go through the recommendations and try to figure out what you think of the stuff that are, relatively low hanging fruit that could be dealt with relatively quickly. There's a lot of stuff in town zoning that could be modified. I've heard this, Wayne's not the first person to say that. So what we ought to look at as a planning board is what sort of decisions, what can we do in the short term to really help facilitate this? Because more major visions of the zoning code, a lot of work, consultants, etc. But much like the accessory dwelling units, there are a lot of cases where we can relatively easily, I think, take action to move some of the stuff forward.
That I can find a way to implement good revenue without compromising the things that are important to our town. Right, it's a simple fact.
That's just the only priority right now.
Right,
but so how do we look at, but that's a great overall goal, but our goal is through the lens of zoning and land planning. So, what is it there that we can specifically do? And I can't change interest rates. I love to,
no,
but
absolutely.
so there's a
feedback from residents, what is important to them too, but again, I mean, you're gonna have to make sacrifices to get what we need to be functional on our own as a town.
So what I'm looking is, as a planning board, because all the zoning changes have to go through us. So that's one of the areas that sort of our nexus. So what is it that we want to say? Okay, here are pain points that we could fix.
We're gonna have to look at different areas that are gonna be, financially helpful, number one, and you're not gonna make everybody happy, I get it. I never wanna step on anybody's toes, but
No possible way.
we all are gonna have to make sacrifices to do, you know, what's got.
In line with that, has there been established a set of priorities? Which project should be done first?
Yeah.
And following that, I mean, you know, clearly we can't do all the things in a short period of time, you know, that we would like to do.
Right.
So, in my mind, we're gonna have to make some choices and establishing priorities for particular projects, DCAM, et cetera.
Right, that's gonna be, that would be one of the first steps of the implementation committee. They have the stakeholders of each of these elements, and chapters, what are the top things?
Well, I mean, so let me just throw out something that might be controversial, but I think it's something we need to look at. Maybe we shouldn't have 2 acre zone. And that's the sort of stuff we need to look at.
Well-
That's the sort of change that comes from us.
Yeah.
This is what I mean. It's like,
Yeah.
we need to sit around as a board and go, okay, what are the things in this
That's a
plan that
huge
resonate with
That's
us?
a very good point. There's a lot of other towns don't.
I know, state's getting away from it.
Even like, you know, towns like Akron, they're not even requiring 2 acre lots and the frontage. Zoning is different than what we got here, which allows a lot of property that is beneficial to be developed. Undevelopable here because of the.
It could be like 50 feet short.
Yeah, 100%.
No, I
agree. That's a huge.
I think that's a
Really
huge
dig in.
Yeah, but so, okay, I put one on the board, what do you guys have? Let's start, look, this is what I wanna do, is have this kind of discussion. To say, okay, you know, what major changes might we wanna propose? Yes.
So I'll-
No, I have to.
I think the 2 acre, is a great area to look at and we should be involved in. My memory goes back a little bit and it says when the 2 acre limit was established, one of the issues was water. How much water is available? And if we suddenly take 2 acre lots and make half acre, quarter acre areas within the town, was that gonna do more water available? So we're gonna do schools.
Yeah, no, again, those are all discussion points that we need to address.
Right, yeah.
Because, like you said, if you do something, it's gonna have implications on the other.
Right, I mean, that's a great idea. The state and the nation actually has said, God, we need more houses. And so the only way to get more houses in Lancaster is to affect that 2 acre zoning thing.
Right.
But let's look at the unintended consequences.
But also, it's a great thing because people will pay attention, and they will start thinking about this at a certain point, as opposed to like thinking some arcane things that developers will respect. But others won't. This is the sort of thing that is an master plan, the discussion, the master plan should be engendered.
But like realistically, we're so lopsided with residential and commercial that that's right now our biggest issue in tournaments. We don't have the tax revenue to support us. We're gonna be in trouble if we don't do something.
Well, we're never gonna be green by 2027 if we don't fix it.
I get
And
it.
the problem is, we're never gonna be debtors. And that,
Right.
Well, right,
that's where we are kind of behind the 8 ball. I mean, it's like, if I'm a business owner, I'm looking at all I have to do to get a project done in Lancaster versus calling the Devon's planning department, and they're just like, they help.
Lancaster is expanding their industrial park behind Target. There's a Costco warehouse being talked about going in there.
I mean, there has to be.
It's all the infrastructure.
All the stuff that we're kicking aside, other towns are gobbling up.
Well, but we're kicking aside.
Right.
But the issue is still, you have to be able to flush, and that means water in and water out, right? You know, we can't do either of those. I mean, I've been talking to people who say, it's like, look, you know, Lancaster would be a natural for lab space, but you don't have sewage, you're not going out septic.
Right.
So they're going to Devon's, and there's not much we can do about it. You know, there's infrastructure in Leominster that we don't have.
Yeah, we're working.
I know.
Well, then I have to make some hard decisions
And-
too.
And to make something really clear, the town's not gonna build infrastructure on an open space, hoping a developer will come along and fix it. Somebody in the community made a comment going, we should be focusing on putting utilities in these places for these developers. The developers do it. That's the point, like, we're not gonna go like
But it
three
also-
wires.
But it also limits substantially who you can work with, because only certain groups are willing to take it on at the stage of putting in infrastructure.
Right, but
If
we're
you
not-
have it, hey, it's a great for
Water.
it's just like I said, the master plan, it doesn't come with a checkbook,
Nope.
you know,
It's not just us that's going to be like implicated, I mean, I'm all about green and. The thing is, like, with all these electric cars now every household is gonna have to have a car charger. So you're gonna have every household on the street drawing a 250 amp to charge your car. So what's that gonna do to the grid is what I'm concerned about, with now swapping over from fossil fuels to mini splits, and now this is gonna require a lot of electricity. I'm afraid that, I don't even know, you know, and I'm not the guy to ask, I'm not an engineer, I'm not, you know. Will the structure or will the supply lines even handle that
Well,
amount?
that's the national issue.
Yeah, right.
But also what's happening, is like, if you look at our house, by the time we switch to that electric car, we'll already have the battery system probably connected with our solar. So in fact, the load on the grid
Yeah,
will be, you know,
well, that's the things they're gonna have to develop, I
Yeah.
get it. Like,
Well, we need to start thinking about that. I mean, for instance, can we make putting in solar a little easier? You know,
Can we make net metering in the state a little easier?
Okay, that's not in front of the planning board, and you were the one that had to go above 15 kilowatts.
I can power my neighborhood.
That was the deal, you had to go above 15, I'm at
It's a
14, 7.
It's approved at 25. Anywho, I
And
digress.
it's bigger.
So, yes, so here's my small thought on a big issue. I don't like more chiefs than Indians, so I don't like the idea of a whole separate committee
Right,
of,
that's
now,
why I said not a committee.
so, but that would be a committee. So, I mean, because you just said other volunteers, I think we look at whoever's gonna end up being chair of the EDC, because thank gosh we have them back.
Mhm.
We look at the chair of the Affordable Housing Trust, we look at the DPW, you know, and those heads
Yes,
help prior, we already have other open volunteer seats that aren't being filled.
Yeah.
So I'd rather make it a. Frank's already here doing the job, whenever the first EDC meeting is, we'll figure out who that person is. Well, I'm sure Victoria's still gonna be doing her job, but she does it so well. That's the collaboration on implementation,
right,
that at that level.
Yeah.
And I agree, like, I totally agree with the 2 acre lot thing, totally 100% agree with that. I'd like to see we do not own the property, there's no foresight in us owning the property, however. Should something get done with the AUC campus, my thought is we need to look at. Getting an overlay, a 40R or some type of mixed use overlay in that area in town, that's my thought.
Having gone
Because
through 40R, that's project specific.
Yeah.
AUC develops, but that's like a totally
Yep, it's not,
parallel path.
that's just making it, should they decide to do something,
Same with DCAM. They're
they
both
can
underneath.
just do it.
Yep.
So, and then another thing I'd like to look at is the zoning over by the Fulton Fairgrounds. Because most of the single family, and it might change now that Kalon Farms is subdividing off all these lots and building houses. But several of the private residents over there have converted over to businesses, like the Octagon House, it's a whole business now, with like a sign and everything. Then you have the vast Fulton Fairgrounds, and then that was one of the things that Kalon Farms, was like, should I even bother trying to get a rezone? Because it's all residential, or should, but that may be a moot point now that he's splitting up all the land and selling it, and now it's gonna be a lot more residential over there, so. But I think that the number one priority should be looking at the zoning changes, or, things that we could do to help those areas like DCAM, areas in South Lancaster, to foster and hopefully attract some smaller business opportunities for folks. Like, I know for a fact an owner of a local coffee shop would love to open a second location. She ended up going to Maynard. So now she goes between Clinton and Maynard. I have another coffee shop owner in Leominster who'd be like, I'd absolutely put something in North Lancaster if you ever built it.
Get parking, yeah, come up right next to the post office.
If you
I
have
would love
parking-
to put something right next to the post office, but everybody's got a problem with the traffic at the post office.
Well, and the church doesn't want to pave over its lawn for parking. It's the only open space in the park.
Yeah, but I think those types of topics are like the number one priority. With that being solved, everything else trickles down.
Regina, what do you think? We haven't even included you.
I'm sorry, Regina.
It's still light as shit.
Yeah. Well, that's because I'm in Chicago. No, you guys are really covering a lot. This is scope creeped a lot. It's good that we're always thinking about stuff. It goes back to the master plan though. And we heard it a lot the other night. We have a lot of great ideas, a lot of great stuff to attract businesses. We don't have the cash. We don't have the water. We have some things up against us. So how do we make us appealing as a town to work with? Because Lancaster has a horrible reputation of working with businesses. So how do we make it easier?
So, it's, Regina, I think that's excellent. Well, I'm gonna close this part of it because we're coming towards 9 o'clock. I would like, for homework, that each of us comes up with a top 5 list in terms of what you think the planning board should do. You know, and maybe switching to 1 acre zoning is one of them.
That'll be bringing it up next week.
We do not have to bring an apple. No. Don't bring a caramel apple either. We're just eat that. So, but if everybody just comes in our meeting on the 24th, we'll start to get some consensus, because then the 5 of us are like, hey, you know, let's go from 2 to 1 acre zoning. Great, we now have a mandate, because we're gonna have to do some public education on that.
I mean, I like that, we did a lot of talk, but that's huge. That's, I didn't even think of it, but I never thought that would be.
And it's, and maybe more multi or something like that, other places for multi other than just around AUC. This is the stuff, I mean.
Yeah, we're gonna have to dive in.
Lancaster is changing, and I mean, much as any of us, myself included, man, I like those changes, it's our job to be the vanguard. So, okay, tell us about Hawthorne Lane.
Apologize, don't really have an update for Hawthorne Lane, other than what we've already talked about. Still not a lot of communication. I put out
a lot, meaning none.
So, yes, so I will continue to do what I can, find out what I can about Hawthorne Lane, and get it to you if I can. I think the other two, we can put it in the category of homework as well. So, first, be flexible development, we will have. We got
that on the 24th, right?
Yeah, that application is coming on the 24th, so what I thought I'd do is this is the flexible development bylaw. And just kind of read up on it, review it. I know you've got the planning board has had it before. I don't know if this, the present board knows that it. I can send this all to you if you want to send me an email, and I'll send it all out to you, or I don't know if you come at home. But, yeah, so I think it's a lot in the flex development plan. There's a lot of check boxes that need to be checked off. We won't go into what the application is, because we haven't opened that public hearing yet, but, there's a lot to see.
Receive the application.
Yes, the
So you
application,
can distribute the application as well.
that's good. I'm gonna try and get that down as soon as, before I go on vacation. And then.
On vacation, I didn't prove that.
I know, I didn't, we have to put in my vacation request form.
He was
That
hoping you'd be in
night, I
Mexico
don't think
and you
I'd be
wouldn't
able-
notice.
Isn't this
Uh,
the application? Yeah, this is the application.
I'd have to look, I might actually have that. I didn't bring that file with me tonight, so it's possible.
That's a Saturday's.
This is the Go Venture Capital, like what you want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, Satter's Group.
Oh, maybe I. Okay.
See, you're more on point than you give yourself credit for. Yeah. just-
Okay, Friday. Okay, I think I did that anticipating I was gonna try and go on vacation. See what happens.
Yep.
Then this is just kind of an update on, where we are with McGovern Boulevard Extension. All I have here is the, latest from Bethany in terms of I think the punchline is that is pretty much on track. It is on track. I mean, there's like, again, just like 201, there's 1 or 2 or 3 minor things in the latest. And you can see the stormwater. Haley Water is doing the peer review for the NOI, for the Conscom, as well as our stormwater, and you can see there's a lot of overlap in both. So and they appear to be on track. I included that map in there because that was just a response from the applicant talking about, in the stormwater report, those 2 red test pits on the west side, they were showing up. Yes,
Yeah.
so that's just a reiteration of that map, so that it shows up.
Nothing crazy going on.
Nothing
And
crazy
it's the
going
last
on,
one.
I think everything is on track there. No idea what's the next step is gonna be, but that's what we got.
And
As long as it's forward.
how's the Concom on these various slopes? Because I noticed they've got some pretty serious slopes around. Is Concom raising any issues about that?
No, I mean, I haven't met with Brad, we're scheduled to meet on this, to get. We can get my thoughts, his thoughts together, synthesize, so we can report it to the board, because the applicant is in front of the Conscom now. They requested a continuance so they can get wrapped up with the Conscom, and then they'll be before us on July 8th. Because they're not meeting in front of Conscom until the 25th. That's what I think.
Okay. Gosh, I think that's all.
Yeah, anyway, just.
Any recent correspondence?
Yes, you have. This from the town clerk's office, if you guys could, this is first planning board. Election board, so you need to sign that and I need to give it back to Amanda. It's just who's on the board, who's been elected, like George. I get just elected.
Kendra reminds me that we are sort of in the midst of our bonding performance review, but we haven't closed that out yet, so we should see what we can get for where we want to be for our requirements on the 24th, because we're starting to have stuff like this come up.
Well, Hawthorne Hills on our table.
Well, you got Hawthorne Lane, you got Hawthorne Hill. I mean, technically, I don't know if we should have been asking Dan North for a bond for some of this stuff. And, because we don't have a policy I can point to and go, well, you really should be bonded to complete this versus you're excluded.
Private, private,
They're all private. Where's the line? This is the question. Where's the line?
I've actually been thinking about that, when the whole Hawthorne Lane thing. I wonder whether or not we should consider not allowing private roads in developments. Every single one that I can think of has come up as an issue. Oh, will the town please take this over? And now the residents are screaming because, oh, the developer didn't do what they said they do, and we're stuck in the middle of some morass. I wonder whether or not it's time to say no private roads.
My doctor's signature.
I don't know. I think that holds together. Don't sign it. I think that holds together more than most doctors. I didn't realize you're on the Declaration of Independence. So I'm sure. I tired doctors.
Did KB, and that's it.
Yeah, it's cool.
Okay, so we've got that. Is there any other correspondence,
No.
new business?
No.
Anything the board would like to address other than the color of Mike's shirt?
It makes you look very smart. It compliments your eyes.
There you go. All right, before you get too deep into the color of his eyes, I look for that.
Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. Motion to adjourn, Regina,
Yes.
George,
Yes, please.
Kendra,
Yes.
the guy in the yellow shirt, Mike,
Yes.
and Frank, yes, 5-0 to adjourn at 8:57.